Welcome to Church on the Rock. Good to see you. I brought my own iced tea. It has, the word God on it there. All right. Welcome. And I hope you can relax and enjoy if this is your first time here. We have a very relaxing time, having fun around the Word of God. Some of you might see that we have a balloon up there, and that's from our Alpha course. Yeah, our Alpha retreat. Woo! We celebrate new life, and it's a good thing. Also, if I can just put in a little plug, if I can put in an extra plug, we are having our praise and prayer night, not tonight, but next Sunday night. And we're not going to have one in December, and it comes up at the end of January. So not the next one till the end of January. And you just need, if you're just like worn out and you just need some space to go and get filled up with God, I can't think of a better time. So I hope you can put that in the back of your mind. Well, we are doing a series on marriage, Together for Better. And we are, I know some of you are going, woo, I'm married, I need this. Some of you are going, I'm glad my husband is here. Maybe he can get some things because he needs help. Some of you are saying, I'm not married, but well, who knows what might happen in the future. And these are just good relational skills that you can develop. And some of you are on the way to God, and you're trying to figure this out. Today, you are going to understand the heart of God, the heart of Jesus, probably better than a lot of other illustrations through our whole marriage thing. But to get us thinking about marriage, I was reading what little kids think about this whole idea of relationships. So one was asked, how can a stranger tell if two people are married? Derek said this, you might have to guess based on whether they are yelling at the same kids. Isn't that awesome? Yep, I've seen that one. Okay, what do you think? What do you think your mom and dad have in common? And Lori said, they both don't want any more kids. What do most people do on a date? Dates are for having fun, and people should use them to get to know each other. Even boys have something to say if you listen long enough. That's one of my favorite ones. Awesome, yes. Well, she's a hopeful young lady. All right. What do most people do on a date? On the first date, you just tell each other lies. They usually get some interest enough for a second date. Awesome. How cynical at such a young age. Oh, man. And what do you do on the first date if it's turning sour? I'd run home, play dead. Next, I'd call the newspapers and make sure they wrote about me in the dead columns. Oh, that's awesome. Anyway, yeah. So what we want here is not only for you to be together, and as we celebrate marriages, being faithful to each other, but we want you to actually enjoy it, to be together for better. 10 years, 20 years, 30 years into the whole thing. I have been married, what is it, honey? Is it 32? Something like that? Yeah, no, I know exactly. Okay, 33. You see the forgiveness and love that happens between us here. And the deal is, it is exciting to see that there's whole new levels and whole new layers that can happen in marriages. So last week we talked about, well, what is a marriage with Christ at the center? At least we start off with a definition. It's a man and a woman who are both believers, who become one, united by a covenant, a holy promise, who model Jesus to each other. You're just not there to fulfill each other's needs. What I am here, I get an opportunity to show Helen, my wife, God's grace and His love and His service. And she has an opportunity to do that for me. And I know all too often when I drop the ball, when I make bad decisions, or I forget what I need to do, or I run off and forget her feelings, and she comes back and says, it's okay. I know, holy cow, that is a miracle from God. It is not naturally her. She has spent time at the feet of Jesus. And what it does, it actually leads me to worship God because of her reaction to me. So I think a lot of young people think you just got to pick the right one. You pray for the right one. And I know there's some really messed up people there, so stay away from the messed up people. But the idea is you're thinking you got the one. In fact, as I was writing my sermon in Starbucks, one of our young adults came by and said, Dave, you got Helen. You just lucked out at getting the perfect person. Yeah. If you know Helen, awesome. Okay, now I'm going to move on. It is not just about getting the right person, because I think young people, this is what you think happens. You say, if I get the right one, I don't have to be patient ever, because she will never do anything in which I need to be patient. Oh. Or I don't need to forgive because the right person will never be offensive. It's so right. I won't need to act kindly because he will love me for who I am. You'll grow out of that soon enough. Now, the idea is we are all glorious messes. Here at Church on the Rock, we recognize that. And that becomes one glorious mess comes together, and it's glorious at times, and it's messy at times. Like I said this last week, Billy Graham's wife, they asked, have you ever considered divorce? She said, never divorce. Said murder, often, never divorce. So how can we move ahead in the middle of a mess with messy people and grow together? The last part of our definition is this. If there is the idea that we are to model Jesus to each other. So the question should come from that. If this is what a model of Christ's love is, like, how did he love? How did he actually love? And I'm going to read to you a passage. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this passage. And it was read actually at my wedding. And it's in Philippians chapter 2. And I'm going to read it, but if you're new to Church on the Rock, we read out loud anything that's bolded. Oh, yeah, it's awesome, it's bolded. So pay attention to the bolded words, and if we could hear all your voices, that would be utterly amazing. Let's try it here. Paul says to the church, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own interests, but also for the interests of others. Have this attitude in yourself, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, although he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God something to be grasped, but he emptied himself, taking the form of a bondservant, and being made in the likeness of a human, being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. For this reason also God highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name which is above every name, so that the name of Jesus every knee will bow, those who are in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and that every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Oh, amen. Isn't that an awesome passage? I love that one. So, if this is what Christ's love is to us, how can we understand this better? Well, it starts off with selfishness. Do nothing out of selfish or empty conceit. And if you think about it, anything that does about yourself or trying to build up yourself is pretty empty in the long run. This idea of trying to be better just fades over time. When I was speaking off in Edmonton last weekend, it was funny. I met some young adults in Starbucks. And it's like weird. They come in. Oh, there's the speaker, right? Oh, like as if I'm something special, right? And then somebody came up. Must be really cool to be famous, Dave. And I'm going, listen. 3 days after this thing's done, they won't remember my name. 50 years after I'm dead and gone, nobody on this planet's going to remember me. It's all chasing the wind. It's vain to try and just make this about you. You follow Jesus, make it about others, and the fruit is the thing that lasts. See, the thing is, it is about selflessness. And that's what agape love is. There's, as you probably many of you know, that there's different Greek words for love. There's eros, or erotic love. There is philios, this is brotherly love. There's storge, and there's this thing called agape. Agape love is a self-giving love, and you know this yourself. Let's try and repeat one of the most famous Bible verses in the world. Even if you're not a believer, or if you're on your way, you might have heard this one. All right, here we go. And I'm only going to use the first phrase. Okay, for God so loved the world, He. Okay. Okay, that's good. You're Bible scholars. Okay, you're good. For God so loved the world, He gave. Interesting. I believe the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is selfishness. God so loved us, what did he do? The first thing he do, I love you so much, I'm going to give, because that's what love is. I'm going to give to you. I'm going to get out of myself. And so if you're about yourself and trying to hold things in to you, it's selfishness, and that's actually the opposite of love. So I believe firmly that the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is selfishness. And it's interesting. So the passage goes on, and he says, "Do not, but with humility of mind, regard one another as more important." So trying to focus on the interest of others. Before research on the brain was even considered back then, before they understood how the eye has really only one focus, a fovea, that we have the medulla oblongata that cuts out everything else so we can just focus on one thing. And we know that there's some brain injuries where people take it all in at once, and it's just so overwhelming. And so we are designed to be able to just focus on one thing. And so what he's saying is, listen, in relationship, and he's talking about the church here, but in relationship, you can pretty much focus on one thing. So focus on the other. Focus on the other. It's interesting. And he says, listen, as you focus on the others, this is really what Jesus did. So replace your mind with Jesus' mind. He was the one that focused this way. And then he has this beautiful passage. I can't skip over this one. This is just so rich with theology, so meticulous in each word. He talks about Jesus, who being in the form of God. The word form means there that Jesus is the unalterable essence of God. Jesus is God, and that's what we call the incarnation at Christmas time, where God comes down. All the cults out there, they all stumble over this one. They'll say Jesus is a God, and we can all become gods eventually. Or they'll say Jesus was a great teacher, an awesome prophet, but not God. But the Bible comes back again and again that Jesus is God in the very essence, the unchangeable essence. Passage goes on that not only is the form of God, but he said he had equality with God. That equality with God, he deserves all worship, he deserves all service. God's showing up on the planet. Boom, right? The mountain should have shook. People should have fallen down and said, wow, we have come into the presence of someone holy. But he emptied himself of this. He emptied himself of this thing that he didn't grasp onto. Now, I'm going to try and illustrate this. I really can't. The whole Trinity thing is just weird, isn't it? It's really hard to get a hold of. So you can't. So whatever illustration we have, but I like iced tea, so here we go. So here is the Trinity. God. Oh, hold on, that's purely... Okay, God. There we go. They're all together in eternity, loving each other. I really didn't practice this ahead of time. And all of a sudden, at Christmas time, all of a sudden, boom, And what happens is, Jesus... Oh, there we go, pure leaf. Okay, Jesus being God comes to earth. But he doesn't just come to earth as God. What he does, he empties himself of his power. He empties himself of his power, all the things that he could do. He emptied himself. Well, excuse me. Chose a glass a little bit too small. Oops. The word empty means that he emptied all the way right to the last drop. Anyway, he emptied himself of all his power, all his deserving to be worshipped, all his deserving to be served. He just emptied. It's a kenosis. He poured out until he was empty. And then when he came to us, he took on the nature of a servant. And that was a momentary thing. The word servant, it was a momentary thing in history. And what happened was he came and served us and served us and served us until the point of, as the passage says, death, and death on a cross. And you think that the period would end there, but it doesn't. And now we move to a principle that said, therefore, he said, well, why therefore? Because it's a principle of Scripture. that God exalted him. Because he gave so much, he exalted him above all creation. He exalted them so someday, every one of us, whether you're a believer or not, are you going to bow before Jesus? All the greatest religious leaders, they're going to like, boom. They can't help it. They're going to fall at the feet of Jesus, the risen Lord. Everyone will. Whether they had recognized him or not on earth, before they are moved to where they're going to end up with eternity, either way, they will bow down to him. And this is a principle is that God exalts you if you humble yourself. So cool, Dave. That was good iced tea. Good part about Jesus. What does this have to do with marriage? Why in the marriage series? I think that's just so important. If the gold standard, if you come into church, when you walk through those doors, you go, I should be focusing on others. How you doing? Catching up. Oh, can I pray for you? You need a job? Let's pray right now. If that's the gold standard of showing up to church, is focusing on others, what should it be in a marriage? Like, if this is good, marriages should be so much more intimate, shouldn't they? If any place we should be focusing on the other, it should be in marriages. It should be. And so, married people, those who are thinking about getting married, your focus needs to be on your spouse. Good man. You see, I'm a little bit more like Tom than June. Somebody's got to figure these things out, right? Oh, man. To focus on the interests of others. And we could put a period on there and go say, okay, husbands, focus on the interest of your wife. Wives, focus on the interest of your husbands. And the sermon would be shorter. This would not be Church on the Rock, though. Because here at Church on the Rock, I firmly believe that not only we need to believe the right things, which is right and true, we do, but we also need to practice the right things. Because at the end of the day, when you stand before God, I know one of the questions I get to be asked is, not only, Dave, how did you pastor these people? Can I tell you that scares the liver out of me? It does. I serve him with holy fear. But one of the questions is, how did you serve your wife? How did you die to yourself and focus on her? And I want to help you guys. I want to help you guys to do that well. So I picked 3 things that just in my own stumbling, I'm trying to focus on my dear wife. And you take them or leave them. These are just suggestions that have come up. Number 1 is, how do we focus on the interest of others? I'd just like to suggest our conversations. Have you noticed that when you date, you can talk like forever? Like you go, oh, and what did you do today? And what did you do on that hour? How about 5 minutes after that? And what were you thinking? And what were you feeling? And oh, it's awesome. I know none of you can even remember that. I journaled it, and so that's the only reason I remember it. The idea is so many of our conversations, hey, can you pick this up when you're on your way home? Hey, why, the leaves need to be raked. Hey, vacuuming needs to be done. Can you come home early? How do you figure this out on the computer? Okay, so all of a sudden now, all of our conversations become tasks and not about the other person. We just quickly move to task mode. And eventually, after a while, after a few years of talking tasks, and you get children, and you even become taskier. Like, can you pick up? Can you drive? Why are they late? Why are they dressed that way? Didn't you think about brushing their teeth? All that, Not that ever happened with me. The deal is, I believe intimacy is in the information. I want to know what's going on in you. And will you trust me enough to tell you? I want to know more about you. And so I believe questions are the food for relationships. If I'm going to focus on my wife, I need to slow down and not think about the tasks for a moment. Think about her, and that means I need to ask her some questions. I need to find out what's going on with her. This is why, by the way, we have the question of the day at Church on the Rock. It's not, we just don't want you all to get married. The idea is we want questions build relationships. You have something to talk about. And so Helen's developed this game called the question game. I think she should market it. It's awesome. She just cuts up little questions, puts it on pieces of paper. And we had a whole bunch of young adults over at our house last night, and we passed the bowl around. And there's always this sort of like perceptible groan when this happens. Oh, the question game. We're going to find out more about each other. Did I get a stupid question? I don't know. Okay, it goes around like this, right? And then you actually do it. It's awesome. Like, somebody is telling us about, what the things as they're growing up or what's their favorite movie. And all of a sudden, people don't think it's really stupid anymore. They're leaning in as they are becoming closer. I believe this. I'm going to give you 3 questions. These 3 questions, they're on your sermon notes. If you didn't get sermon notes, tackle the people on the way out and grab them. If not, try and remember them. Type them in your phones. You can, write them down. These are questions that you don't, they never run out. These ones never run out. So I'm going to challenge you, okay? Sometime this week, ask these questions. Number 1, so what's one of the best things that's happened this week? I remember seeing a study on that one, and spouses, they brought them in, and they said, what were the best 3 things that happened in their wake? The spouse wrote it down. The other spouse had to try and guess what they were. It was sad. I think it turned out to be 0.5. They didn't even guess one out of all 3. What was the best thing that happened in your week? And we just get busy, right? This isn't about guilt. This is like, can we slow down to say, hey, what's the best thing that's happened this week with you? Just easy, right? And they'll think, and they'll start to tell you. How about this one? What are you looking forward to this coming week? You look backwards, you look forward, right? You see, what's the one thing you're looking forward to? And it's just all of a sudden you sit down and you actually talk. But if you want somebody to figure out what's going on with you, that's just focused on self, but we focus on the other. What's causing you the most stress this upcoming week? And if they tell you, Christians, guess what you can do? Exactly what Tom and June said. You can actually pray for each other. I got this presentation coming up at work. It's just really stressing me out. And these people are not coming through. They're all backing off on me. But don't worry about it, hon. I know this is not your world. No, your world's my world. Can I pray for you? Woo! Yeah, that's hot stuff, man. Talk. Focus on the interests of others in conversations. Focus on the interest of others in trying to understand feelings. As a youth worker for a lot of years, I got this. The number one thing that teenagers asked for is to be understood. Isn't that wild? They just want to be understood. And when you push in to understand, what do they want to understand? They want to understand that their feelings have been heard. And, it's like you have to suspend fixing situations. You have to suspend trying to make it all work. And just somehow let them know you have heard their feelings. I remember this one kid in our youth group came up, and he's kicking things and said, "Stupid basketball." And I'm going, "Whoa, what's going on?" He said, "I don't want to talk about it." So, I followed him anyway. I said, Come on, buddy, what happened? I got cut from the team. Oh. Now, my first response is this. You're an awesome basketball player. Wow, you'll do better next time. What, the coach was blind, right? All those things, right? But all of a sudden I realized, put on the brakes. I need to hear his feelings. So I said, whoa, that's got to be so frustrating. Let's try one. Got to be frustrating, right? If you guess the wrong feeling, people, they'll tell you the right feeling. That's so frustrating. No, it's embarrassing. Embarrassing? Why is it embarrassing? The coach read out all the names in front of the rest of the team, and everybody else heard that I was cut right there. And I still want to tell the coach he's stupid. But for the moment, I need to let them know I understand what embarrassing feels like. And so I go, that's embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. And all of a sudden they go, somebody gets it. Somebody understands me. Now, I know if you're thinkers, big T's, T thing, you're just helping them wallow in their pain. Yeah, okay, you'll fix it later. Okay, just for a moment, just for all you T's, okay, just for a moment, try and guess what a feeling is. Putting that out there. You don't even have to get it right. Shoot in the dark. Wow, that must make you happy. Who are you? Okay. I remember this. It's like car coming home as a little kid, and these kids are saying these things, and like we were ready to zoom over there and kick the other kid out of school. We want to fix it right away, right? I had to put on the brakes. How discouraging. Wow. I wouldn't feel safe that way. Yeah, that's it. I pick up Helen from work. And it's usually early in the morning. And I don't do mornings well. And so, But I still have to remember my focus is not on me. It's on her. So how was last night? Oh, there's a situation, and it just didn't work out, and then people were not filling out the forms, and I have no idea what forms are getting filled out. I have no idea how she does that stuff, man. She's way beyond me. But I can understand frustration. That I get. I go, honey, that's got to be so frustrating. Yeah, it is. And a little ding. I've allowed my life to focus on her just for a moment. We can work it out, but just for a moment. Oh, honey, that's got to make you so happy. That's awesome. So, how do you focus on the interest of others? In conversations and understanding feelings. Let me try one more, last one. Speak their language. Can we speak their language? And all of us has probably heard about love languages, right? Right? You got that part. But I want to take a little survey because I think this is fun, all right? So there's this guy that wrote a book about love languages, and he said for Hannah, there might be 40 of them, but he said one is touch. One is touch. That means when I come in, I know some people have love language of touch. Nick, come on. We just bear hug each other to death, and we go, whoa, that feels so good. Okay, so those of you who are huggers, those of you, if somebody puts their hand on your shoulder, you don't mind that it's just wait, okay, it's okay. If you are okay with a whole physical, in fact, you even feel love somehow by that. Just put up your hands. Put up your hands. Come on. Yeah. Whoa. Here we go. All right. Thank you. Those that didn't put up your hands, you will be healed in heaven. You will be. I'm going to come and I'm going to hug you, and you are going to like it. Can I just say, as a general survey, there's a lot of huggers at Church on the Rock. I think we weed them out at the door. They don't come back. Anyway, okay, there's some people who love words. They love to be able to say, wow, thank you for doing this. Or you do this so well. And just, I do that well. And whoa, the feelings come. I do something good in this life. Just something and it might be an encouragement note. It might be a text. Or it just might be a spoken word. They're just those words. You need to hear them and you feel loved by them. How many are words people here? Oh, not as many. We are a huggy church. All right, we got a little bit of word happening. All right, okay, awesome. Okay, how about service? As my dear wife says, she says, talk is cheap. Do the vacuuming and I will feel loved. She doesn't say it in that tone all the time. So, so actually to be served, to do something, to clean up, to make something, to make a breakfast. Whoa, all of a sudden I feel served and I feel loved. You made a breakfast for me. Wow. Or put things, anyway, I don't even understand this one, so I'm trying to say it. How many people here are acts of service? You love to be served. Whoa. God bless you. God, may you have people that serve you. How about this one? How about time? Just time together. You just can sit at Starbucks together and hang out together. And you don't even have to do a lot, but you just love spending time together. And it just feels good, and they're there, and you're here, and it's wow, we're together. It's just good to be together. How many time people? All right. If you have all four, you have a bit of a self thing going on there. The thing is, if when I just feel, when I'm bubbling with feelings of love for my wife, I come and give her a big hug. And you know what? That does nothing for her. and when I tell her how awesome she is. And when I know she needs to be loved, and I know there's a pile of dishes there, and I know she would so feel loved by that. And it's not an expression of my love, my emotional love, but it is an expression of my will love. I will myself to love her in this way. And sometimes I get creative. I'm a huggy guy, and I'm a word guy. I married somebody who is a service and a time person. We're still together. And so sometimes I need to work on my message. Can we just spend time together, honey? Let's go to Williams on a date. And I'll bring my message. And she's good. She's looking through photography things. And I'm working my message. Every so often she looks up and smiles. And I smile. And I'm going, this is working. This is working. The deal is, folks, can you just even once a week, without prompting, that's the cool part, isn't it? Without prompting, show love to your spouse in a way that they can understand, speak their language. And I see it in my wife. It's so cool because she is so not a hugger. She just like not. It was like for a while. But then she realized, to serve me, so she came. There, feel better? Go get some work done. No, it's like, and now, like after 32 years of marriage, all right. So can you just try and understand what their language is? Why? Because the focus is not on you, should be on them. As I was working on this, one of my barista friends came over and she said, "So what are you working on?" Something about marriage, and told her. And she said, "I don't think that works." I go, "How come?" She said, "It only works if they do things back to you, right? Because if you just give to them and they never give back to you, it's like you're so being used. And it's like," she says, "it's more like this, Dave. You give a little, and if they give back, then you can give a little bit more. But if they don't give, you back away. It's like this dance, maybe, but no. Right? That makes sense, right? Let's go back to our passage. How much love did Jesus give? How far did he go? He emptied himself of himself to serve us all the way to the cross. And I got that. Don't be stupid about physical abuse. You don't get beat up. But he served. And he continued to serve. But Dave, what about me? Am I just going to give my life always giving to other people? Isn't it great how we always exaggerate? Always. The end of the passage, it says this. Therefore, because Jesus served, God was the one that exalted him, right? As we serve our spouses, and we say, well, they have to serve back. Let that one go, man. Just let it go. Just love. Love unashamedly. Love unselfishly. Just love. Just pour it out on them and say, God, I think I need some love. And guess what? God is the one that does that in the strangest and most wonderful ways. As he gives you strength to go the extra mile. As he gives you the strength to love your spouse. So I'm going to ask our worship team to come on up. I'd love us to be able to focus this week. Is there some way we can focus on our spouse in our conversations, in our feelings, and speaking their language?